I am Hannah Torrey. I am here with Melanie, who is a dental hygienist here at Harris Dental. So let you introduce yourself a little.
Perfect. I have been with Harris Dental for just a little over 6 years now. I started here right out of school and went to hygiene school here in Arizona.
Nice. And then what hygiene school did you attend? What year did you graduate?
I went to Fortis College that is over in Phoenix, and then I graduated in December of 2018
Nice.
and started here right after. So
Congrats. And then what college degree did you earn?
I got an associate's degree from that school, yeah.
So now that you've graduated and you've been practicing for a while, what do you do in your job, and what is kind of like your daily routines look like?
So I would say with our daily routines, it's a full day of patients. We're a very busy office, thankfully. And so bringing patients back, make sure we're taking our routine x-rays. I would say pretty much, like, yes, the cleaning takes up a good chunk of the appointment, but I'd say the biggest chunk of the appointment is more educating the patients on what you're seeing, what you're concerned about, and how to improve their gum health too.
And then what do you think is the most important factor to being successful in dental hygiene school?
I would say, that's a tough one. I'm like, there's so many things. Definitely finding out your learning style. Like if you're a hands-on learner, if you're a visual learner, if you are a repetitive learner where you read things 40 times over and then it gets it. I'd say knowing your learning style and then trying to figure out, because obviously teachers are gonna not always teach in your exact learning style, but then taking that information and finding a way to turn it into your own learning style and devoting basically all your free time to studying.
Of course.
Like, it's a little rough sometimes, but it's so worth it. I definitely kept reminding myself a lot through school. I'm like, okay, like all of this information that I'm learning, I'm actually going to be applying. Whereas like sometimes in high school, I'd be like, I'm never going to use this again. But reminding yourself of that helps so much at staying motivated too.
Yeah, that's great. I agree. And then what were the biggest barriers or challenges that you faced before and during dental hygiene school?
I'd say before, with Arizona, it's a little hard to get into hygiene school. We have really long wait lists, as I'm sure you know. And so that was really tricky. Thankfully, when I found Fortis College, they just have like a grading system. So they just take the top 16 applicants and then you're in. And so that was nice at least, but that was a bit of a struggle. And then trying to figure out like, well, what am I gonna do for a job? Because I was an assistant before at a root canal office, and so thankfully when I was talking to them about hygiene school, they were like, you know, we'll just be really flexible with your schedule, and anytime you can come in, that's great. If not, that's fine too. So I was so thankful about that. But definitely a lot of us had a really hard time with how often our schedule would switch every 6 weeks to keep something solid. And then during hygiene school, like with life itself, challenges are gonna pop up with family or with your car or something like that. And so just trying to balance all of that was a little tricky, but thankfully you get through it. And it goes a lot faster than you think too. Like the days are long, but then all of a sudden you're blinking and you're like, oh, I graduate at the end of this year.
Well, I think that's really important that you brought up like balancing, because there's a lot of, I mean, dental hygiene school is going to be really rigorous and everything, but you also have a work and you have life and everything else. And then what is the most challenging part in your career being a dental hygienist?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm like, it's more so, I would say the biggest challenge that I have are when patients are just extremely unmotivated with their health and kind of just think that it's your job to keep things clean. It's like, okay, well, I can, but that's just one day,
Right.
like 2 days a year out of all 365 days. And so sometimes not like cracking those patients, but
Right. Trying to get through to
getting
them.
through to them.
Yeah.
And really, I don't know, I feel like all of us girls, when we start hygiene school, we're so passionate about helping people, and we just want we want all of our patients to have the healthiest mouths. And sometimes people are very unmotivated, and so then it, like, right at first I was taking it like so personally, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I really just want to help Bob, but he's not doing it, and
Right.
I just would get so discouraged. But now thankfully you learn different techniques on how to talk to people.
Yeah.
But I'd say that was one of the biggest challenges right out of school. Now thankfully I have learned, you can kind of read people a little
Right.
easier and kind of know how to get through to them and educate them in a way that they'll understand a lot
Right.
easier.
Yeah.
But that was definitely, I think, the biggest
Yeah.
challenge. Every
Because
now and then there's
yeah.
the one that
It's kind of something that's like out of your control too, and that's
Yes.
kind of hard to deal with.
yes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, like you just see all your hard work, like especially with
know.
SRP patients, where it's like
Yeah.
you just spent thousands of dollars,
gosh.
and we did all this work. You were sitting in the chair for so long,
Yeah.
and then like months down the road, then it's like all this turmoil
happened?
is getting
Yeah.
back, and I'm like, did you open the? Because at our office we give them a Sonicare and a water pit, like it's all
Right.
included with their SRP, and then they're, oh, I didn't open it. I'm like, we literally gave it to you. We gave it to you. You didn't have to go to the store and get it. And so
Right.
sometimes that can be a little discouraging or a little challenging, but thankfully I've learned now it's not like a personal thing
Right.
or anything
Exactly.
like that. But
Yeah.
that was my biggest challenge.
That can be challenging. And then, what advice would you give to me before starting dental hygiene school?
Oh, I have to think about this one. I would say definitely keep your chin up, because sometimes you're gonna like think that you did like horrible on an exam, and I remember all of us girls would just sit there and like be biting our fingernails,
Oh,
like, oh my
gosh.
gosh, like, how did you feel about it? How did you feel about it?
Yeah.
And then we all kind of just like freak out together instead of like, oh no, it probably wasn't
Yeah,
perfect. And then we
that's
all
fine.
get our scores back and we're like, oh, it actually, we
was
did
fine.
good. Yeah. And so just staying really positive, I think, and having a good support system behind you is
Yeah.
really important too. Make sure your friends and family know, hey, like, don't be mad if I can't make it to dinner this week or
Right.
something like that too, I would say. Having
Yeah.
a good support system is probably what got me through the best. Being able to have friends and family that I could just chat with and were there to still support when I wasn't really around
Right.
that much at like the random family get-togethers and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's all I have for you. So I really appreciate this. It's been super helpful.
yeah,
Thank you.
of course, and thanks for taking time out of your day to
Oh, thanks for taking time out of
come
your
and
day.
sit with us.
Of course.
And thanks for I'm so sorry.